The galaxy asked for fighters. Earth sent warriors. Part 4. The turning tide. The council chamber was full when the humans returned. Every seat was taken. Thousands of aliens stood in the corridors, watching through screens, waiting to see these strange creatures from a small blue planet. Word had spread quickly. The humans had done the impossible. They had walked into Station 12 and walked out alive. They had rescued survivors that everyone had left for dead. They had made the Vec bleed. Park Do-hyun stood before the council with his team behind him. They were tired, dirty, and some were wounded. But they stood straight and proud. They had proven themselves. The head counselor, the massive creature with 6 eyes, leaned forward. "What you did was unexpected," it said. "We have studied your tactics. We do not understand them. You split into small groups. You attacked from many directions. You used strange devices to confuse the enemy. These methods are not in any of our military training." Lieutenant Choi Yoonji stepped forward. "Of course they are not," she said. "Your military training is designed for a different kind of war. You fight with formations and numbers. You meet the enemy face to face and try to overwhelm them with force." She pulled up tactical displays showing Vec battle patterns. The Vec expect this. They prepare for this. When you attack in large groups, they know exactly how to respond. They have been defeating this strategy for 200 years. The counselor's eyes blinked slowly. "Then, what is your strategy?" Yoonji smiled. "Chaos." Admiral Yoon Hana stepped forward to explain. "On Earth, we have studied war for thousands of years. We have learned that there are many ways to defeat an enemy. Superior numbers is just one way, and often the least effective." She pulled up images from Earth's history. Ancient warriors hiding in wooden horses. Soldiers in white clothes disappearing into snow. Small boats carrying explosives toward massive ships. We use surprise. We use deception. We use the enemy's own strength against them. We attack where they are weak and retreat when they are strong. We make them chase shadows while we strike from behind. A counselor with purple skin spoke up. "But these tactics require thinking differently. Our soldiers are trained to follow orders, to fight in units, to trust their commanders." Sergeant Kim Jun-ho laughed quietly. It was not a mocking laugh, but it made several counselors uncomfortable. "That is your problem," he said. "Your soldiers follow orders. Our warriors think for themselves." He looked around the chamber. "When I was at Station 12, I made many decisions without asking permission. I saw opportunities, and I took them. I saw dangers, and I avoided them. I did not wait for someone to tell me what to do. But how can an army function if everyone makes their own decisions?" The purple counselor asked. Park Do-hyun answered. "Because we trust each other. We trained together for years. We learned to think the same way, to predict what our teammates will do, to move as one unit without needing to communicate." He gestured to his team. "Every person here has spent more than 10 years learning how to fight. We know each other's strengths and weaknesses. We know what they will do in any situation. We do not need orders because we already know the plan." The head counselor sat back, processing this information. "You are suggesting that we change our entire approach to war," it said. "Yes," Hana replied simply. "That would take years. Decades. We do not have that time." Hana nodded. "Then let us lead. Let us show your soldiers a different way. Not to replace your methods, but to add to them." The council discussed for hours. The humans waited patiently. They had learned that aliens made decisions slowly, carefully, after much debate. It was different from Earth, where decisions were often made quickly and changed even more quickly. Finally, the head counselor stood. "We have decided," it announced. "We will give you command of a special unit. You will select soldiers from our existing forces. You will train them in your methods. You will lead them against the Vec. Park Do-yeon bowed his head slightly. Thank you. But know this, the counselor continued. If you fail, if your methods do not work, we will return to our own strategies. And humanity will be remembered as just another species that tried and failed. Understood. Over the next few months, the humans worked without rest. They selected soldiers from dozens of different species, those who showed initiative, creativity, and the ability to think under pressure. Most alien soldiers did not qualify. They were too used to following orders, but some understood. Some learned quickly. Some had always felt that there was a better way to fight. Lieutenant Choi Yoonji designed a training program based on Earth's most famous military academies. She taught tactics that had been developed over centuries: ambushes, guerrilla warfare, psychological operations. The enemy's mind is the true battlefield, she told her students. If you can make them afraid, confused, or angry, you have already won half the battle. Sergeant Kim Jun-ho taught combat skills. He pushed his students harder than they had ever been pushed. Many quit. Those who stayed became dangerous. Pain is a teacher, he said during one training session. Fear is a weakness. When you can ignore both, you become something more than a soldier. You become a hunter. Admiral Yoon Hana focused on leadership. She taught alien officers how to make decisions without waiting for orders, how to adapt to changing situations, how to trust their instincts. A good leader knows when to follow the plan, she said. A great leader knows when to throw the plan away. Park Do-yeon coordinated everything. He was patient with those who struggled and demanding of those who succeeded. He pushed his new unit to be better every day, never accepting anything less than excellence. After 6 months, the new unit was ready for their first mission. The target was a Vec supply line, a series of ships that carried resources to the front lines of the war. The Council had been attacking these ships for years with limited success. The Vec defended them heavily, but Park Do-yeon had a different plan. We will not attack the ships, he explained to his unit. We will attack the stations they stop at. We will destroy their fuel, their food, their equipment. Without supplies, the ships are useless. One of his alien officers raised a tentacle, but the stations are lightly defended. The Council considers them unimportant targets. Park Do-yeon smiled. That is exactly why we will attack them. The Vec expect us to attack what looks important. They do not expect us to attack what is actually important. The operation was a complete success. In 1 week, Park Do-yeon's unit destroyed 7 supply stations. The Vec supply line collapsed. Without fuel and resources, their ships sat motionless in space. The Council's main fleet, finally free from constant Vec attacks, advanced for the first time in 50 years. When the news reached the galaxy, everything changed. Species that had been hiding began to fight back. Soldiers who had given up hope started believing again. The Vec, for the first time, were losing ground. The head counselor called Park Do-yeon to a private meeting. You have done what we could not do in 200 years, it said. You have given us victories. Real victories. Park Do-yeon shook his head. We have only shown you a different way. Your soldiers did the fighting. They deserve the credit. Perhaps. The counselor studied him with all 6 eyes. But I must ask. Your methods are effective, but they are also ruthless. Some of your tactics cause suffering, not just death. Is this truly necessary? Park Do-yeon was silent for a long moment. War is suffering, he finally said. There is no clean way to kill, no painless way to die. We learned this lesson on Earth many times. We tried to make war civilized, to follow rules, to be honorable. And every time, those who did not follow the rules won. He looked directly at the counselor. The Vec do not follow rules. They do not show mercy. They do not stop until their enemy is destroyed. To defeat them, we must be willing to do what they do and more. The counselor's eyes blinked slowly. Your species frightens me, it admitted. Park Do-yoon nodded. Good, we should frighten you. Because if we can frighten you, we can frighten the Vec, and fear is how we win. Outside the chamber, the war continued. But for the first time in 2 centuries, the galaxy was winning. The tide had turned. The galaxy asked for fighters. Earth sent warriors. Part 5. Legacy. The war lasted 7 more years. 7 years of battles, of victories and defeats, of blood and fire across 1,000 worlds. The humans led from the front, teaching their methods to anyone willing to learn, turning frightened soldiers into deadly warriors. The Vec did not understand what had changed. For 200 years, they had conquered without real resistance. Their enemies had run, hidden, surrendered. The Vec had grown comfortable. They had forgotten what it meant to face true predators. Now they remembered. Park Do-yoon led the final assault on the Vec homeworld. He was 50 years old now, his black hair streaked with gray, his body covered with scars from countless battles. But his eyes were the same calm, steady, and deadly. 10,000 ships surrounded the Vec planet. Millions of soldiers from hundreds of species waited for the order to attack. It was the largest military force the galaxy had ever assembled. But it was not numbers that won the war. Admiral Yoon Hana, now 65 years old, stood beside Park Do-yoon on the command ship. She looked out at the gathered fleet and smiled. When we first arrived, she said, they laughed at us. 40 humans against the Vec. They thought we were foolish. Park Do-yoon nodded. They did not understand. Numbers do not win wars. Will does. The Vec fought desperately to defend their homeworld. They threw everything they had at the attacking fleet. Billions of soldiers, thousands of ships, weapons that could destroy planets. But the galaxy had changed. The soldiers who faced them were not the same creatures who had run in fear for 2 centuries. They had been trained by humans. They had learned to think, to adapt, to fight without mercy. Sergeant Kim Jun-ho led the ground assault. He was 40 years old now, still the best shot in the fleet, still the hunter who never missed. His team moved through the Vec hives like fire through dry grass, destroying everything in their path. Keep moving, he told his soldiers. Do not stop. Do not hesitate. The moment you stop, you die. They did not stop. They pushed forward, deeper into enemy territory than anyone had ever gone before. They found the central hive, the heart of the Vec collective mind. Lieutenant Choi Yoonji had predicted this moment years ago. She had studied the Vec, learned their biology, understood their weaknesses. She knew that if the central hive was destroyed, the entire species would fall into chaos. The Vec are like a body, she had explained. The soldiers are the hands, the workers are the feet. But the central hive is the brain. Cut off the brain, and the body dies. Kim Jun-ho's team reached the central hive. It was a massive organic structure, pulsing with life, connected to billions of Vec minds across the galaxy. He looked at the explosive charges in his hands. One press of a button, and the war would be over. He pressed it. The explosion was visible from space. The central hive collapsed in fire and smoke. Across the galaxy, Vec soldiers suddenly stopped moving. They stood frozen, lost, disconnected from the mind that had guided them for millennia. Within hours, it was over. The Vec were not extinct. That would have been genocide, and the humans refused to allow it. But they were broken. Their collective mind was shattered. Their unity destroyed. They would never threaten the galaxy again. The celebration lasted for weeks. On every world, in every station, beings of all species danced and sang and cried with joy. The nightmare was finally over, But the humans did not celebrate. Park Do-yoon stood alone on the observation deck of the command ship, looking out at the stars. He thought about everything that had happened, the battles, the deaths, the victories. He thought about the 40 warriors who had left Earth so many years ago. Not all of them had survived. 7 had died in the war, their bodies buried on distant worlds, far from home. Park Do-yoon knew their names, their faces, their stories. He would never forget them. Admiral Yoon Hana found him standing there. "You should be celebrating," she said. He shook his head. "I am not in a celebrating mood. Because we won? Because of what it cost." She stood beside him, looking at the same stars. "War always costs," she said quietly. "That is why we fight it, so others do not have to." They stood in silence for a long time. Finally, Park Do-yoon spoke. "The council wants to give us medals. They want to name ships after us. They want to build statues. What did you tell them?" "I told them no." He turned to face her. "We did not come here for glory. We came here to fight. We came here because someone needed help, and we were able to give it." Hannah smiled. "They will not understand. No, they will not." A month later, the surviving humans gathered at the council station for a final ceremony. The 33 warriors stood before the assembled representatives of 1,000 species, wearing the same black uniforms they had worn when they first arrived. The head counselor, the massive creature with 6 eyes, addressed the crowd. "When humanity first came to us," it said, "we did not understand them. We asked for fighters, and they sent warriors. We asked for soldiers, and they sent hunters. We asked for help, and they gave us victory." The chamber was silent. But more than that, they gave us something else. They showed us that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to fight despite fear. They showed us that strength is not measured in numbers. It is measured in will. They showed us that warriors do not fight for glory or reward. They fight because it is right. The counselor looked directly at Park Do-yoon. "Humanity has earned a place among the stars. Not because they are powerful. There are many powerful species. Not because they are intelligent. There are many intelligent species. They have earned their place because they are warriors in the truest sense. They protect those who cannot protect themselves. They fight battles that others will not fight. They do what must be done, even when it is hard." Park Do-yoon stepped forward. His voice was tired but strong. "Thank you for your words," he said. "But we do not need recognition. We did what any warrior would do." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of beings he had fought beside, had saved, had learned to call friends. "On Earth, we have a long history of war. We are not proud of this history. We have killed millions of our own kind in conflicts that often had no meaning. We have developed weapons capable of destroying our entire planet. We know better than anyone the terrible cost of violence." He paused. "But we also know something else. We know that when evil rises, someone must stand against it. We know that peace is not given, it is earned. We know that freedom requires those willing to fight for it." His voice hardened. "The galaxy asked for fighters. You wanted bodies to throw at your enemy. You wanted cannon fodder. Instead, you got warriors. You got men and women who had spent their lives learning how to protect, how to defend, how to win against impossible odds." He looked at his team at Hana, at Kim Jung-ho, at Yoonji, at all the warriors who had survived. "We are going home now. Our job here is done. But remember this, the next time you face a threat, the next time darkness rises, you will know how to fight it. Not because you have big armies or powerful weapons, but because you have learned what we have always known." He spoke his final words clearly so everyone could hear. Warriors are not born. They are made. They are forged in fire and blood and sacrifice. They are ordinary people who choose to do extraordinary things. And that choice, that willingness to stand and fight when others run, that is what makes the difference between survival and victory. The chamber erupted in applause. Beings of all shapes and sizes cheered and called out the humans' names, but the humans just stood there, calm and quiet, warriors to the end. 1 year later, a transport ship arrived at Earth. 33 warriors stepped off the ramp onto their home soil for the first time in 8 years. The world had changed. People knew about the war. They knew about the victory. They knew what their warriors had done. Park Do-yoon walked through the crowd of cheering people. He found a quiet spot away from the noise and looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, among the stars, the galaxy was rebuilding. Species were healing. Peace was spreading. Admiral Yoon-hana found him again, just as she had on the observation deck. "Are you happy to be home?" she asked. He thought about the question for a long time. "I am happy that the war is over," he said finally. "I am happy that we made a difference." "But happy?" He shook his head. "Warriors are never truly happy. We carry too much with us." She nodded. "What will you do now?" "Rest, remember, and if the call comes again." He looked at the stars one more time. "I will answer." Above them, the sky stretched endless and dark, filled with millions of stars, millions of worlds, millions of possibilities. The galaxy had asked for fighters, Earth had sent warriors, and the universe would never forget. The galaxy asked for fighters, Earth sent warriors. Part 2. First contact. The journey through space took 3 weeks. The human warriors spent this time watching, learning, and staying silent. The alien crew of the ship looked at them with confusion. These humans did not talk much. They did not complain. They simply observed everything with careful eyes. Park Do-yoon walked through the ship every day. He memorized every corridor, every door, every escape route. Admiral Yoon-hana did the same. They did not discuss it. They did not need to. Old habits never died. Kim Jong-ho spent his time studying the alien weapons. They used energy beams instead of bullets. He held one in his hands, feeling its weight, learning its balance. Then he set it aside and cleaned his old rifle. He trusted what he knew. Choi Yoon-ji requested access to the ship's database. She wanted to learn about the VEC, about the war, about every battle that had been fought. The aliens gave her permission, thinking it was a harmless request. They did not understand that they were giving her everything she needed. When the ship finally arrived at the Council's main station, the humans lined up in perfect formation. They wore their black uniforms, their boots polished, their weapons at their sides. They stood in complete silence, not moving, not blinking, just waiting. Delegate Voren walked ahead of them, nervous. He had spent 3 weeks with these creatures, and they still made him uncomfortable. They were too quiet, too still, too watchful. The station was enormous. It floated in space like a small moon, filled with millions of beings from hundreds of different species. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked through the corridors, some with wings, some with tails, some with bodies made of light itself. But when the humans marched through, everyone stopped to look. There was something about the way they moved, something predatory. They walked in perfect step, their eyes scanning everything, their bodies ready for anything. They looked like hunters entering new territory. Admiral Yoon-hana noticed an alien child staring at them. It had green skin and large black eyes. She gave it a small nod. The child ran away, frightened. Hana sighed quietly. They were already making impressions. The council chamber was a vast room with a domed ceiling that showed the stars. 12 aliens sat on elevated platforms, each one representing a different species. They were the leaders of the Galactic Council, the most powerful beings in known space. They looked down at the 40 humans with expressions ranging from curiosity to disappointment. "Is this all?" asked the head counselor, a massive creature with gray skin and 6 eyes. We asked for 10,000 soldiers. You bring us 40? Park Do-yoon stepped forward. His voice was calm and respectful, but firm. You asked for fighters, he said. You did not ask for numbers. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several counselors whispered to each other. One of them, a thin being with silver scales, leaned forward. We've been fighting the Vec for 200 years, it said. We have lost billions of soldiers, billions, and you believe that 40 of your kind will make a difference. Admiral Yoon Hana stepped beside Park Do-yoon. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her face showed no emotion. May I speak? She asked. The head counselor waved its massive hand. You may. Hannah looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every counselor. When I was young, she began, I studied the history of your war with the Vec. I read about your battles, your strategies, your losses. Do you know what I noticed? No one answered. You fight like prey, Hannah said simply. Shock rippled through the chamber. Several counselors rose from their seats in anger. But Hannah continued, her voice never rising. You defend. You retreat. You sacrifice soldiers to slow the enemy down. You have been running for 200 years, losing ground every year, watching your worlds burn. She paused. You do not fight. You survive. There is a difference. The head counselor's 6 eyes narrowed. And you believe humans are different? Lieutenant Choi Yoonji stepped forward, pulling up a holographic display from her personal device. Images appeared in the air, images of war, of blood, of fire. This is Earth, she said. Our planet, our home. In the last 10,000 years, humans have fought over 60,000 wars against each other. We have killed billions of our own kind. We have developed weapons that can destroy entire cities in seconds. We have perfected the art of death. The images changed. Ancient warriors with swords, soldiers in trenches, planes dropping fire from the sky, tanks rolling across burning fields. We did not evolve as prey, Yoonji continued. We evolved as predators. We do not run from threats. We eliminate them. We do not defend our territory. We take our enemy's territory. We do not fight to survive. We fight to win. Silence filled the chamber. Sergeant Kim Junho spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the entire room. You asked the wrong question, he said. You asked for fighters. You should have asked what kind. He looked up at the counselors with eyes that had seen too much death to be afraid of anything. On Earth, we have a saying. Warriors do not seek battle. But when battle finds them, they become something else. Something that does not stop until the enemy is destroyed. Park Do-yoon nodded slowly. You have been fighting this war like it is a game of numbers, he said. More soldiers, more ships, more weapons. But war is not about numbers. It is about will. It is about the willingness to do whatever is necessary to win. He looked directly at the head counselor. The Vec fight without fear because they have never faced true predators. They have conquered species that ran, that hid, that surrendered. They have never faced creatures that enjoy the hunt. A counselor with bright blue feathers spoke up. Are you saying humans enjoy war? Park Do-yoon considered the question carefully. No, he finally said. We do not enjoy war. We hate it. We curse it. We write poems about its horror and teach our children to avoid it. He paused. But when war comes to us, we become very, very good at it. Because we have had 10,000 years of practice. The head counselor sat back, its 6 eyes blinking slowly. You are confident, it said. Perhaps too confident. Many species have come before you, believing they were special. The Vec destroyed them all. Admiral Yoon-ha smiled. It was not a warm smile. "Then test us," she said. "Give us a mission. Give us a target. Let us show you what 40 humans can do against your enemy. If we fail, you lose nothing. If we succeed, you gain something you have never had before." "And what is that?" the counselor asked. "Hope," Hana answered. The council discussed for hours. The humans waited outside, standing in perfect stillness, saying nothing. Other aliens walked past them, staring, whispering, wondering what kind of creatures could stand so still for so long. Finally, the doors opened. Delegate Vorin emerged, his 4 hands clasped together nervously. "The council has decided," he said. "They will give you one chance. There's a station under attack by the Vec, Station 12. It has been under siege for 3 days. The council has already ordered a retreat. They expect it to fall within hours." Park Doyen nodded. "How many Vec?" Vorin hesitated. "Our estimates say 10,000. Kim Junho made a sound that might have been a laugh. 10,000? That is all? Vorin stared at him. "You are 40. They are 10,000. You will be outnumbered 250 to 1. Sergeant Kim Junho looked at Captain Park Doyen. Captain Park looked at Admiral Yoon Hana. Admiral Yoon looked at Lieutenant Choi Yoonji. Then they all smiled. "When do we leave?" Park Doyen asked. Vorin realized then that he had made a mistake. He had thought he understood these creatures. He had thought he knew what they were. He was wrong. He was very, very wrong. The galaxy asked for fighters. Earth sent warriors. Part 3. The different Station 12 was burning. When the human transport ship arrived, they could see the damage from space. Fires glowed through broken windows. Debris floated around the station like a ring of destruction. Emergency signals blinked desperately, calling for help that would never come. The council had already ordered the evacuation. They had decided the station was lost. Too many Vec, too few defenders. The mathematics were simple and brutal, but the humans did not care about mathematics. Park Do-hyun stood in the transport ship, looking at his team. 40 warriors, armed and ready, their faces calm and focused. None of them showed fear. They had all been in hopeless situations before. They had all survived. "Listen carefully," Park Do-hyun said. "The council fights in large groups, meeting the enemy head-on. They use superior numbers and superior firepower. Against the Vec, this strategy fails. The Vec are endless. You cannot outnumber them." He pulled up a map of the station on the holographic display. "We will not fight their way. We will fight our way. Small teams. Quick strikes. We hit them where they do not expect, then disappear before they can respond. We make them afraid. We make them confused. We make them understand that they are no longer the hunters." Admiral Yoon Hana pointed to different sections of the map. "We divide into 4 groups of 10. Each group takes a section of the station. Your objective is not to kill every Vec. That would take too long. Your objective is to rescue survivors and push the Vec back toward the central hub." Lieutenant Choi Yoonji took over the briefing. Her voice was steady and precise. The Vec communicate through a hive mind. They share information instantly across their entire swarm. This is their strength, but it is also their weakness. She smiled slightly. "If we cause enough chaos, if we hit them from too many directions at once, we can overload their shared mind. They will become confused. They will make mistakes." Sergeant Kim Junho checked his rifle for the 10th time. "And when they make mistakes, we kill them," Yoonji answered simply. The transport ship docked with Station 12 through an emergency airlock. The doors opened, and the smell hit them immediately: smoke, blood, and something else. Something alien and wrong. Park Do-hyun was the first one through. His rifle was raised. his eyes scanning the dark corridor ahead. Emergency lights flickered red. The walls were covered in some kind of black substance that seemed to move. "Vec residue," Yoonji whispered. "They leave it behind when they pass through. It helps them navigate." Kim Jun-ho touched the substance with his gloved finger. "So if we follow this, we find them?" "Yes." He smiled. "Good." The team split into their 4 groups. Park Do-hyun led Group 1 toward the residential section. Admiral Yoon Hana took Group 2 toward the command center. Sergeant Kim Jun-ho led Group 3 toward the maintenance tunnels. Lieutenant Choi Yoonji took Group 4 toward the medical bay. Each group moved silently through the dark corridors. They did not rush. They did not panic. They moved like shadows, like ghosts. Like the predators they were. Kim Jun-ho's group was the first to make contact. They found the Vec in a large storage room. There were about 50 of them, dark creatures with too many legs and too many teeth. They were eating something. Kim Jun-ho did not want to know what. He held up his hand, signaling his team to stop. They crouched in the shadows, watching, waiting, calculating. On Earth, Kim Jun-ho had learned to hunt from his grandfather. He had learned patience. He had learned that the best hunters did not chase their prey. They waited for the perfect moment. This was the perfect moment. He raised his rifle, took a breath, held it, and fired. The first Vec died instantly. Before the others could react, 9 more shots rang out. 10 Vec fell in 3 seconds. Then the humans were moving. Not forward sideways. They disappeared into the maintenance tunnels, splitting up, making it impossible for the Vec to track them all. The surviving Vec screamed through their hive mind. They had been attacked. They had lost members. They needed to find the enemy and destroy it. But the enemy was already gone. On the other side of the station, Admiral Yoon Hana heard the screams through the Vec residue on the walls. She smiled. "Phase 1 complete," she said quietly. "Now they know we are here." Her group found a group of survivors hiding in a storage closet. 12 aliens of different species. All terrified. All certainly were going to die. Hannah opened the door slowly. Her weapon lowered. "We are here to help," she said. "Follow us. Stay quiet. Stay close." One of the aliens, a small creature with orange fur, looked at her with wide eyes. "You are human?" it asked. "We heard stories. We thought you were a myth." Hannah helped it to its feet. "We are real, and we are going to get you out of here." As they moved through the corridors, they encountered more Vec. But the creatures seemed confused, disoriented. They were receiving too many signals, too many reports of attacks from too many directions. Lieutenant Choi Yoonji's strategy was working. In the medical bay, Yoonji found more survivors, including several wounded soldiers who had been left behind during the evacuation. She organized her team quickly. "You 2, guard the door. You 3, help me move the wounded. We are taking everyone with us." One of the alien soldiers looked up at her with pain-filled eyes. "Why?" it asked. "Why did you come?" "The council ordered a retreat. This station is lost." Eunji knelt beside the soldier and began treating its wounds with supplies from her medical kit. "We do not leave people behind," she said. "That is not how we fight." The soldiers stared at her. "But you will die." Yoonji looked up and smiled. "Perhaps, but not today." Park Do-hyun's group reached the residential section and found it overrun with Vec. There were hundreds of them, far more than they could fight directly. But Park Do-hyun did not plan to fight directly. He pulled out a small device from his belt, an audio generator that Yoonji had programmed before the mission. It played a specific frequency, one that interfered with Vec communication. When he activated it, the Vec stopped moving. They stood frozen, their many legs twitching, their many eyes searching for something they could not find. "Now," Park Do-hyun said, His team moved through the confused Vec like water through rocks. They found survivors hiding in apartments and closets under beds. They gathered them quickly and efficiently. Moving toward the evacuation point behind them, the Vec finally recovered from their confusion. They screamed with rage and began the chase, but it was too late. The humans were already gone. Hours later, all four groups reunited at the evacuation point. They had found over 200 survivors. They had killed more than 300 Vec, and they had not lost a single team member. The transport ship lifted off from Station 12 as the Vec swarmed the docking bay below. They screamed and clawed at the closing doors, but they could not reach their prey. Inside the ship, the rescued aliens looked at the humans with something new in their eyes. Not fear, not confusion. Respect. One of them, an old creature with silver skin, approached Admiral Yunhana. "You came back for us," it said. "No one has ever come back." Hannah nodded. "We told you. We are not fighters. We are warriors. What is the difference?" Hannah thought for a moment before answering. "Fighters follow orders. They do what they are told, go where they are sent, die when they are expected to die." She paused. "Warriors choose their own battles. They fight for what matters. They do not accept defeat, even when defeat seems certain." The old alien looked at the other humans, at Park Do-yoon checking his weapon, at Kim Jun-ho sharing food with a frightened child, at Yoonji treating the wounded without rest. "You are strange creatures," it said finally. Hana smiled. "Yes, we are." When they returned to the council station, the news had already spread. 40 humans had walked into a death trap. 40 humans had walked out with over 200 survivors. The impossible had happened. The galaxy had asked for fighters. Earth had shown them warriors. And this was only the beginning. The galaxy asked for fighters. Earth sent warriors. Part 1. The call to message came on a cold winter night. It traveled across millions of stars and empty space before it reached Earth. Every television, every radio, every phone on the planet suddenly stopped working. Then a voice spoke. It was not human. "People of Earth," the voice said, "we are the Galactic Council. We come to you with a request. A terrible enemy threatens all life in the galaxy. We need soldiers. We need fighters. Will you help us?" The world went silent. Then chaos followed. Park Do-yoon was cleaning his rifle when the message played. He was a captain in the Korean Special Forces, a man of 35 years who had seen combat in places most people would never know about. He had short black hair, a scar on his chin, and eyes that had witnessed both the best and worst of humanity. He listened to the message 3 times. His hands did not shake. His heart did not race. He simply nodded and continued cleaning his rifle. Within hours, the world's governments responded. The United Nations held an emergency meeting. Scientists confirmed that the signal was real. It came from a point far beyond their solar system. This was not a joke. This was not a drill. Aliens existed, and they needed help. The Galactic Council sent more information. They explained that a species called the Vec had been destroying worlds for centuries. The Vec were like insects, millions of them moving as one mind, eating everything in their path. Planets, ships, people, nothing survived when the Vec arrived. The Council had been fighting them for 200 years. They were losing, badly. "We have heard stories of your kind," the Council's message continued. "We know that humans are fighters. We know that your history is filled with war. We ask you to bring this fighting spirit to our cause. Send us 10,000 soldiers, and we will give you a place among the stars." Every nation on Earth began to argue. Some wanted to ignore the message. Some wanted to send millions. Some wanted to pretend it never happened. But in the end, they all agreed on one thing. Humanity would answer the call. Park Do-hyun received his orders 3 weeks later. He was to lead a special team, not 10,000 soldiers, but just 40. The world's best. The most skilled, the most dangerous, the most experienced warriors Earth had to offer. He read the list of names. He knew some of them. Others he had only heard stories about. These were not ordinary soldiers. These were legends. Admiral Yoon Hana would be his second in command. She was a woman of 50 years, with gray streaks in her black hair and a reputation that made generals nervous. She had commanded ships and troops in conflicts across the globe. Her nickname was the Iron Lady, and she had earned it with blood and steel. Sergeant Kim Jun-ho was the youngest on the team, only 28 years old. But his age meant nothing. He had grown up in the mountains, hunting with his grandfather before he could read. He had joined the military at 18 and quickly became known as the best tracker and marksman in the entire Korean armed forces. People said he could hit a target from 2 kilometers away in complete darkness. They were not exaggerating. Lieutenant Choi Yoon-ji was the team strategist. She had studied every war in human history, from ancient battles fought with swords to modern conflicts fought with drones. Her mind worked like a computer, always calculating, always planning 3 steps ahead. She was quiet and small, but her brain was the most dangerous weapon on the team. There were others too. Explosives experts, combat medics, hand-to-hand fighters who could kill with their bare hands, engineers who could build or destroy anything. Each one was the best at what they did. Park Do-hyun gathered them at a military base outside Seoul. He stood before them, his hands behind his back, his face calm and serious. "You have all seen the message," he said. "You know what is happening. Aliens exist. They are at war. They have asked for our help." He paused and looked at each face. "They asked for fighters. We are not fighters. We are warriors. There's a difference." No one spoke. They all understood. "The council expects 10,000 soldiers," Park Do-hyun continued. "They expect bodies to throw at their enemy. They expect cannon fodder." He shook his head slowly. "They do not know what they have asked for. They do not know what Earth has created over 10,000 years of war." Admiral Yoon Hana stepped forward. Her voice was strong and clear. "The Vec have conquered thousands of species," she said. "They have destroyed civilizations older than human history. But they have never faced us. They have never faced creatures who have spent their entire existence fighting, surviving, and winning against impossible odds." Kim Jun-ho smiled slightly. It was not a friendly smile. "They wanted soldiers," he said quietly. "They are getting hunters." The team trained for 6 months. They learned about the Vec, their biology, their tactics, their weaknesses. They studied the Council's technology and weapons. They prepared for an enemy unlike anything they had ever faced. But they also brought their own knowledge, their own tactics, their own weapons, both physical and psychological. Humanity had invented 1,000 ways to kill and 1,000 ways to survive. They would bring all of it to the stars. When the day finally came, a council ship descended through Earth's atmosphere. It was massive, silver, and shaped like a teardrop. It landed in an empty field as the 40 warriors watched. A door opened and light poured out. An alien walked down the ramp. It was tall, thin, with blue skin and 4 arms. Its eyes were large and golden. It looked at the humans with something like curiosity. "I am Delegate Varin," it said. "I am here to collect your soldiers. The council expected 10,000. I see only 40. Park Do-hyun stepped forward. He stood straight and proud, his uniform perfect, his eyes steady. 40 is all you need, he said. The alien tilted its head. It did not understand. It would learn. As the humans boarded the ship, Earth watched. Billions of people held their breath. 40 of their own were going to fight a war among the stars. It seemed impossible. It seemed foolish, but those who knew history smiled. They remembered what 40 warriors could do. They remembered Thermopylae, where 300 held back an army. They remembered Rorke's Drift, where 150 defeated thousands. They remembered every time humanity had stood against impossible odds, and the galaxy had asked for fighters. Earth had sent something far more dangerous. Earth had sent warriors.